Hey crystal lovers, Ashley Levy here with the Love and Light School of Crystal Therapy, and I wanted to pop over and talk a little bit about crystal skulls today. So I recently posted a picture of one of my crystal skulls over on Instagram and asked the question, how do you feel about crystal skulls? Are they creepy or awesome? How do you like to work with them? So this is the skull that I posted over on Instagram. I'm not normally drawn to skulls, but this one was such a pretty stone. Believe it or not, it's actually an Amazonite. It looks a little bit more like Larimar. It's not that deep, dark Amazonite that most people are used to seeing. It's kind of this paler Amazonite, but it's so pretty. Like, this stone was so beautiful that even though I'm not normally drawn to skulls, I still had to work with this piece. Like, it was just beautiful. It definitely had to come home and kind of hang out in my crystal toolkit in my collection. So like at first, for a long time when I started working with crystals, I was not very drawn to skulls. I didn't get them. They kind of weirded me out. I thought that they were a little stupid, to be honest. And I thought that they were kind of creepy, but you know what? It wasn't the skull itself that creeped me out about them. It was like all my research that I had done about skulls was like so way out there. Like, a lot of people think some really interesting things about skulls, and I'm definitely not here to disparage anybody's beliefs. Like, you know me, I'm always very much about do what works for you, and you know, trust your own experience above all else. That's what's really important. But when I first started learning about crystal skulls, there's so much mystery that surrounds them and so much kind of controversy and conflicting ideas about where they come from, what they do, what their purpose is. And some of the information was just too much for me, and it really turned me off to the idea of crystal skulls for a long time. And it really took, I guess, finding a skull that I was really attracted to before I was willing to kind of give them a chance. And studying with someone, Dale Walker of the Crystal Awareness Institute, that really had a more grounded approach to working with crystal skulls. And so this is the kind of viewpoint that I take, and I'm not going to go into like all the theories about crystal skulls in this video because there's just not time for that. There are so many. But basically the thought is that there are ancient crystal skulls and modern crystal skulls, and there's a lot of controversy over how ancient the ancient ones really are, whether or not they truly are old, because you can't date a crystal. You can't date like quartz crystal material. There's no way of knowing, and most of these skulls are quartz based, so you can't really tell exactly how old they are. And there's been a lot of hoaxes and things like that surrounding the skulls. So although there's been, you know, quite a bit of time and energy and research put into finding more about them, it's really hard to tell if these old ancient skulls are really authentic. And there's some pretty out there theories about how they were created. People say everything from like super advanced technologies that we don't have now, or like some people talked about how they were carved through sound vibrations. Some people talk about how they were brought from other planets by aliens. I mean, there are a lot of theories about these skulls. My personal belief about this is that we usually don't give ancient peoples enough credit for the technologies and innovation that they did have. I mean, think about some of our great monuments like the Great Pyramids and Stonehenge. We still don't completely understand how those things were created. We have some good guesses, but we don't 100% know for a fact how these different sacred sites were created. And I think the same could probably be said for crystal skulls. There's nothing to make me believe that they could not be ancient. I think that they could be. I think that we just don't know enough about ancient people and how they may have been created. I also think that there are probably a lot of hoaxes, a lot of modern carved skulls that people are trying to pass off as old, but most of the skulls that you see, obviously like 99.9% of them, most of the ones you would see in like your local rock shop or metaphysical store, those are going to be modern carved skulls, just like that little Amazonite piece that I showed. So why would we ever want to work with a skull shape? Why would that be important? Well, the thing that gets really interesting about crystal skulls is a lot of people believe them to have like their own personalities, their own consciousness. I kind of think this about all crystals, right? Like, all my crystals feel different to me and speak to me in different ways and connect with me in different ways. So I don't think there's anything too unusual that way about a crystal skull, but a lot of people, you know, because this skull is like in human form, they start to like name their skulls and associate their skulls with particular personalities. And I don't know that I've ever necessarily found that, but again, I don't discount someone else's experience. I think there is something to be said about putting a crystal shape into a form that we recognize, that we resonate with on like a soul level, on like a really, really deep DNA, you know, deep personal level, right? Because when something is in our own form, we can just connect with it better and easier. Now, some people get creeped out by the skulls. They think they're a little bit creepy. Again, I didn't find the shape creepy. It was more the information that was out there that was a little bit too much for me. But I do feel that the skull shape really does help us tap into our own inner consciousness. And not only our own inner consciousness, but I think it helps us connect with our spirit guides, our totem animals, our ascended masters, archangels, like other dimensional beings that help bring through important messages and wisdom and knowledge for us. And where some people find this to be really creepy, I think it really just depends on your perspective and what you're willing to accept or not accept in terms of what's possible in this universe. So if you believe in spirit guides, totem animals, guardian angels, then you probably don't have a problem with connecting with this. But then again, because of that shape, it does remind some people of death. And so there's this association with death that really creeps some people out, right? And I think in Western culture in particular, we have a really hard time working with and understanding the concept of death. We're taught that it's to be something that's feared, that it's something that should be scary, that it's something that means the end of something forever. Whereas if you look at like a lot of Eastern traditions, the skull is actually a symbol for non-attachment. The skull is a symbol for understanding that we're more than just the physical. We're so much more than this. And I really resonate with that idea, and I don't view it as negative at all. It's not doom and gloom. It's not focusing on the fact that we're, these temporary beings. It's focusing on the fact that our bodies are temporary, but on a higher level, we're eternal because we're part of the greater universe. We're part of the cosmos. We're part of everything that's happening all at once. And yeah, it's just like this is part of a natural cycle that happens. So if you can just shift your perspective a little bit, skulls actually become this really comforting shape, this amazing shape that can help you lift and raise your own consciousness. And they're great for things like meditation. And in fact, I want to show you a few of my other skulls. I didn't really think that I was a skull person, but when I gathered some of them up for this video, I realized I actually have a lot more of them than I thought. So this was the first one that ever really captured my attention, and this is from Master Crystal Teacher Dale Walker, and this is a smoky quartz skull. And Dale is said to have one of the ancient skulls. Its name is Rainbow, and it's made of clear quartz. And so some people believe that you can take an ancient skull and activate or awaken modern skulls by kind of charging them in the energy of these ancient skulls. Now I have to say, like working with this one, which has been charged by that supposed ancient skull, and working with one of my modern skulls, I don't really notice a difference. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm not very tuned in, but I personally don't know that this like activation or awakening process is can be confirmed, at least by my own experience. But I did just love this skull, and one of the ways that Dale taught me to work with skulls is actually to look inside of them for wisdom and knowledge and information. So he teaches a method that's basically crystallomancy, or scrying with crystals, divination with crystals, by gazing into the crystal. And he works primarily with quartz-based crystals. So clear quartz, smoky quartz, amethyst, citrine, rose quartz, those crystals you can usually see into or gaze into. So something like this smoky quartz, you can see if you look in there, it has its own little world, its own little landscape. And Dale tells us that by gazing into a crystal and really looking into its inner depths, we can tap into information that's coming from universal source. It's like the macrocosm being boiled down into this one little stone that fits in your hand. And because the back of the head on the skull is almost like a crystal sphere or crystal ball, this is a pretty interesting concept. So that was my first kind of real connection to a skull, was working with one through this act of crystal gazing and really understanding how the internal landscape of a skull can be something that you can tap into to receive guidance about your life path, about a given situation, about anything that's happening. Now, one like my Amazonite skull, obviously I can't use that for scrying divination because it's opaque. I can't see into it, and that could only be done for the smoky quartz. But this is what really helped me connect to skulls, and then I just pay attention to whether or not I'm attracted to them. So again, I still don't really consider myself a skull person. It's never like a shape that I'm typically really drawn to or called to. I think it's just like anything else, any other crystal in my toolkit. It's about the stone itself and whether or not I resonate with it. And you know, I could have found this very exact same stone in a different shape and not been attracted to it. But for this particular, example, this is one that I was attracted to and I did feel the need to connect with. So really listen to your intuition about what you're being called to work with, and don't let your conscious fear-based blocks about the skull shape kind of get in the way of you connecting with a crystal energy that might be really important to you and might be really beneficial for your personal and spiritual growth and development. So this is my Amazonite one, which I showed you. This is the smoky quartz one, the one that kind of really helped me open up to being more accepting of skull energy. And then I have one that is Atlantisite. And again, this is just that the stone was so beautiful. I've rarely seen a piece of Atlantisite quite this pretty. I mean, look at that, how much of that purple stick-tite is in that green serpentine. That's just a gorgeous piece. And I like the ones that have more well-defined features to them. If they're like the more cheaply carved pieces, I'm normally not quite as attracted to them, but I really, really like this one. And yeah, divination or scrying is kind of the art of gazing into a crystal. And normally it's done with a crystal ball. It can be done with obsidian mirrors, seer stones, but because the back of the skull's head is kind of more rounded, it works very similar to a crystal ball. And you can see all the rainbows this one has. It was just such a pretty piece. I was really drawn to it. I also have one that is rainforest jasper. And for me, I had this really powerful experience. It was a dream experience that involved rainforest jasper. And I was learning in the dream state from these crystal teachers about the importance of rainforest jasper for this time and how they could be used to heal the balance between divine feminine and divine masculine. And I had this dream many years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And I have just been so connected to this stone since then, especially as we shift more and more kind of away from the patriarchy and back to our divine feminine roots. It's been an important crystal for me in my own spiritual journey. And when I saw the crystal skull carved out of the rainforest jasper, again, knowing that skulls represent our own shifts in consciousness and our own spiritual beliefs and things like that, I thought that for my personal journey, this would be a really important stone to work with. And so this is one that sometimes I'll use in meditation, and it just helps me really tune in and listen to any messages from my higher self, my inner self, spirit guides and teachers, from the crystal wisdom itself, just really any place that those messages and important insights can come from. Then this is a piece that I am particularly in love with. And again, I was really drawn to this one because of the stone. You can see this one's quite large. This is a Chevron amethyst skull. And again, it has those really sharp features, has extra large teeth, but I like that. I mean, are you familiar with that saying that you're long in the tooth? It means that you're very wise. So I think that of this skull all the time. It's long in the tooth. It's very, very wise. And it was the chevron patterns in this amethyst that really attracted me to this particular skull. And I'm a sucker for amethyst. I have probably more amethyst than any other crystal, but this one was just so beautiful that it was one that I knew that I had to work with. And again, just being chevron amethyst, it has that energy of consciousness raising and lifting your spiritual vibration. And so again, that works really well with the energy of the skull shape itself. Then I have a couple little guys, and I have more little ones than this. I didn't grab all of them. I have a really pretty one I should have grabbed. It's clear quartz with black tourmaline needles in it, so it's tourmalinated quartz. But this is one that I just got this year at the Tucson Gem Show. It is rhodonite. So it's pink rhodonite, and it's mixed with a lot of quartz. So that kind of brownish color that you're seeing is kind of a muddy quartz. But there was something about this that was so soft and so nurturing, and I really just liked this. I liked the kind of dichotomy of the skull feeling almost very masculine in its shape, but then having it in this really soft, gentle stone. And at the same time, I found this rhodonite piece. I also found, or I guess I should say my brother found this one and called my attention to it. There's one that is lepidolite with pink tourmaline. And it's the same thing. This is like such a heart opener, such an emotionally connected crystal, right? This is really about our emotions, about healing our heart. And so this very, very pale lavender lepidolite with pink tourmaline was just an interesting, I guess, kind of counterpoint to that shape of the skull. And then this one is probably the funniest looking one that I have. This is a little moss agate skull. And again, for me, this was very much about the stone. It's very much about that connection with nature, the moss agate. And I just really felt attracted to the crystal. And I wonder if I can get that to focus. Maybe not so much. But I love moss agate for its connection to the natural world. And for me, this one is really about a reminder of how temporary life really is. We're all part of the natural world. We're all part of this natural cycle, and moss agate just reminds you to really live in the present moment and just be grounded and enjoy life and be connected to natural cycles and understand that there's always kind of an ebb and flow of energies. So I love this one for that. And it's a nice little tiny size. This is a great one to pop in a pocket or a medicine bag. So I guess if you are not really a skull person, if you saw my caption on this video and you thought, oh, crystal skulls, definitely creepy, rethink that maybe a little bit, because I definitely felt that way at first too, like for years. And it just took finding the right skull and really shifting my perspective and understanding what they could represent that made me feel so comfortable with them and really embrace the type of energy that they hold. And kind of on the flip side, if you thought, oh my gosh, I love them, they're super cool, I would challenge you to take that connection and relationship with them to another level through meditating with your skulls and really understanding and being open to receiving the messages that they have for you. Well, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. Again, I'm Ashley Levy of the Love and Light School of Crystal Therapy and Crystal Blessings.